Hi, good afternoon. This is MM1 Beniga. Welcome back to my channel. So yesterday I took the TEAS exam remotely. That's my first time to actually take a TEAS exam remotely because on the past few exams I did, I actually did it in person. So I actually went to the community college in New York, Hudson Valley, or I had to go to the BOCES testing center to actually take the TEAS exam. So most of the nursing schools, because I'm trying to go and get accepted in nursing school, right, requires an applicant to take the TEAS exam. So TEAS exam stands for Test of Essential Academic Skills. So it has 4 sections. We have the mathematics, we have the reading, we have science, and we also have the English. The hardest one usually is the science section, but for me, I struggle more on reading comprehension because I grew up in a different country. So my reading comprehension might be not as far with people who grew up here in the States side, because English is not my first language, so I had to put some more effort in it just to become or just to meet the standards. So if you're taking the ATI remotely and not in person, the things that I learned from yesterday is you actually need to prepare your computer and do a dry run. Because what I failed is I didn't do a dry run prior to taking the exam. So it's really important that you actually do it before so that you don't get stressed out prior to the start of the exam. So dry run, it would allow you to test your equipment, right? So if you have a built-in laptop, if you have a Mac example, that is gonna test if your built-in camera and microphones are working. Also, it's gonna test your internet speed because the exam requires a certain megabytes per minute or per second for it to be able to work properly. Also, it's gonna require you to share your screen to the proctor, whoever's gonna proctor. If it's gonna be ATI who's gonna proctor the exam, or if it's gonna be an institution that you're applying for who's gonna give the exam. So it all depends on who's the proctor of the exam. So make sure that would work too. So prior to taking the test, also read the requirements, the checklist, right? So what part of the checklist would be, you need to have your government issued ID. So I use my driver's license. You can also use other forms of government ID, such as your social security card or passport or state issued ID. Aside from that, you can also use scratch paper for the exam. So in case you want to calculate some solution, numbers, or in the math portion, you can do it. The sequence of the exam is the same, and most of the questions that I had yesterday were similar to what I encountered the previous exams I had 2-3 years ago. So the first exam was reading. The next part will be math, then science, then English. So you have an option if you actually finish the section earlier than the time limit. You have the option to either go back to the previous questions and double check your answers, or you can skip ahead and go to the next section. Example, if you got done in reading before the time limit of 59 minutes, you can actually go to the math section right away. You just need to click next. After that, when I got done with all the sections, the last section was English. After I got done with English, the system prompted that I had to do a post-exam survey, but I never had to do it. So after I got done, when I went back to my ATI account, my scores were already posted. So my score overall was proficient. I got 72%. The passing standard was around 60 something. So the national average based on the previous exams are like 65 to 75. That's the thing. But the thing is, you need to remember every nursing school has a different cutoff, to be eligible for apply to the nursing program. some schools require like you at least need to have 75% on reading, 69 for math, and so on and so forth. So every school is different, and especially if the schools has quota. So if they only accept a certain amount of applicants, and then most of the people pass the TEAS exam, so they're just gonna pick the best of the best. Like whoever scored higher would be likely to get picked up, aside from getting a good grades in your school or from your college. Aside from that, like what did I use to review for TEAS exam? So I didn't really buy T6 exam book. I used the old one, the TEAS 5, but it's alright. I mean, most of the questions are gonna be similar. They might probably modify a few. And aside from that, I watched some videos from YouTube about the TEAS exam, like every section, and those help a bit. But basically, TEAS, you just need to refresh yourself with the concepts that you had previously when you were in high school, like anatomy, physiology, ratio and proportion, algebra, quadratic equation, slope of the line. English would be like proper use of noun, possessive nouns, and like stuff like that. But if you're gonna take it, taking a remote is not as bad, as long as you need to be careful though, because the other person, your proctor, can see you on the other side of the screen. So if you're doing something sketchy, they might disqualify you on the exam. So you need to be careful on that. Aside from that, good luck if you're taking the TEAS exam. Hopefully you pass, and hopefully you get accepted to the nursing school or whatever healthcare profession you're applying for. Alright, thank you, bye-bye.